Cool, we're live. Hey guys, welcome to today's Product School Talk. I'm Cassandra, I'm here with Dan Larsen. Hey Dan, how you doing?
Great.
Thanks for being here today. Cool.
Yeah, thanks for having me, I appreciate it.
Awesome. Well, as you guys know, we're Product School. We teach product management courses, data and coding at our 6 campuses. Well, Dan, can you talk a little bit about how you got into product management?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been in product management for about 6 years, and my background before that was in support, and then also in development. I spent about 4 or 5 years in QA doing software test, and then about 2 years doing design, like business analysis kind of work, and really enjoyed that. But for me, the goal was always product management. That's what I love to do and where I wanted to go. And most of my career has been with Henry Schein, actually selling software to dentists.
Awesome, very cool. And how long have you been with Henry Schein?
About 14 years. So it's been a minute. Yeah, it's been a while.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's funny. I was telling somebody the other day that when I started at Henry Schein, I was still living at home with my parents. That's a true story.
Oh, wow.
That's how long, because I was only like 19. So yeah, I've been here a while.
Very cool. That's awesome. Well, I know you have a presentation prepared today, so yeah. I'll let you get that started and set up. And guys, just while he's sharing that, just so you know, after his presentation, we're going to open the floor for Q&A. So just type in your questions next to the YouTube chat, and we'll take them right after his talk. So it looks like he's set up. You're good to go.
All right. Thanks. You guys can see my screen okay?
Yep. Looks perfect.
Okay, great. So thank you for the opportunity. Thank you to Product School. This is great. I really enjoy talking to product managers. Like I mentioned before, it's what I love to do. And so this presentation will be pretty short because I'm excited to hear from you and to see if there's any questions that you have and ways that maybe I could help you in your career as a product manager. So today what I wanted to talk about was I wanted to do something a little bit different. About 3 months ago, I decided that I wanted to start my own podcast. And I love product management. I love business. And so I wanted to kind of bring these things together. And so I started this podcast, and the presentation I want to share with you today is called 6 Founders, 6 Lessons. So these are 6 lessons that I've learned from interviewing some like really amazing entrepreneurs over the last couple of months. I've been really lucky to have the guests that I've had, and I've learned some really cool things, and I wanted to share those with you today. Again, 6 lessons from 6 brilliant entrepreneurs. And the way that I think that this ties into product management is I really believe that product management is an entrepreneurial career. In my opinion, the product managers that are the most successful have an entrepreneurial spirit. They love business. They want to get out and understand the market. To me, product management is more than just giving development specs or requirements or even just a business case. It's about understanding the whole business and continually striving for a greater product market fit. I'm a big believer in that. So again, I really believe being a great product manager demands that you understand the whole business, not just development, your entire business. So I wanted to share, again, these 6 lessons from 6 really amazing entrepreneurs and things that I've learned over the last couple of months with my podcast I started. So lesson number 1 is effective doesn't have to mean expensive. So this is the first episode I did. This is with my dad. My dad has owned telecommunications, a phone business, for about 30 years. And 9 years ago, when the economy was really struggling, they basically had to reinvent their entire business. They went away from the infrastructure and security of a large vendor for their phone systems that they were selling. They built their own solution using open source materials. In fact, the first server that they used for their new system that they created actually ran on a computer they were ready to throw away. And on that single server, they were able to run 300 phones for one of their customers. So the lesson that I took out of this episode of this interview with my dad was that effective doesn't have to mean expensive. There's some really incredible solutions out there, open source things that you can put together that are really inexpensive, in some cases free. And so kind of my challenge to you on this one is look for ways, you don't always have to go to the big business to find an effective solution and an effective partner. Broaden your search and imagination of what could be. And again, effective doesn't have to mean expensive. The next lesson that I wanted to share comes from my friends Ben and Courtney. So we've known each other for a long time. I had them on the podcast. They started a clothing company, and what I learned from them is that your customer is buying you. Your customer wants to believe in this solution and the journey that you're taking them on. So what I learned from them was that Instagram was like the lifeblood of their company. So they started a clothing line called Indie Brand Clothing 5 or so years ago. They built it from nothing. And the way that they did this was by bringing their customers along in their journey. Their clothing line is kind of like an outdoor lifestyle brand. And so they really used Instagram heavily. And what they found is that the photos of their clothing that had them in it really were successful. And I think, they're great people. They have great photos, but I think it's about the key takeaway there for me is that your customers want to know who you are. They want to buy from a person, not from just like a faceless organization. And so look for ways to engage your customers, to get them to understand who you are as people, and to personalize things a little bit more. It's inexpensive to do like a new feature announcement video. You can do something decent or even, good quality for not a lot of money. So again, the lesson, what I loved about their story was that the way that they were successful is by engaging with their audience and taking them on a journey with them, involving them in the brand. And I think that we can do that even if you're selling enterprise software. I think there's opportunity to engage with your customers and to look for ways to make them part of your story. The third lesson I learned, this one was really interesting, and I think this applies to product management in a lot of ways. I've had a lot of aspiring product managers ask me this all the time, like, do I have to know how to code to be a product manager? And my opinion is no, you don't. Is it a valuable skill? Absolutely. Like if you have the time and the ability to get into courses, to learn on your own, to do this through product school, I think you should absolutely do it. But you don't have to be able to code to be a product manager, in my opinion. I interviewed a particular entrepreneur. He started a software company, and basically what they do is incubate app ideas and bring them to market. His background is not in technology. It's not in computer science. He was actually a door-to-door salesperson before he started his company. He was really, really successful at it. And so the takeaway for me was to remember as a product manager how important it is to understand why customers in your space. It's critical. Understanding what influences their buying decisions. Why do they choose your product versus another product? What are those key drivers behind their decision? In the products that are in your space, I can't emphasize enough how important that is. And again, I think coding is a super, super valuable skill, and having some technical background in product management will be hugely valuable to you. But I don't think you have to be an architect, right? Level coder to be an effective product manager. And so that was something I took away from that story. Lesson number 4 that I learned is that, you should take the time to ideate. I interviewed a super, super successful entrepreneur this summer. His background, he was a VP of product at a large software company. He traveled like a maniac. When he left that job, he had some time off to decide, what was he going to do next. And during that time, he reconnected with friends, and he took the time to ideate, to just sit and think about business ideas. As product managers, you need to give yourself time to just sit and think. to brainstorm, and to have creative time to think about your market, about the unmet needs. This particular entrepreneur that I interviewed raised $45 million for his company just in the last 6 months alone, in part because he took the time to ideate, to sit back and think about the challenges that he had when he was a product manager. He ended up creating a solution for product managers. But what I learned during that interview was that, taking the time to really just step back and think creatively, and to give yourself a minute to breathe. As product managers, I think a lot of times we have so much to do, and there's so much email, that it might feel like, the email that's in your inbox right now is like the most important thing in the world. And it might be, but it probably isn't. And blocking out time for you and your team to just brainstorm and to think of creative ideas, to rethink your market, I think it can be really, really valuable. So the challenge on this one is, disconnect from the whirlwind, kind of the craziness of day to day, and just give yourself time to sit back and think creatively about your market. The fifth lesson that I learned is that hard work is a skill. This is my friend Dave. And every single one of the entrepreneurs that I've talked to on my podcast is incredibly hardworking. And being a product manager, again, it's an entrepreneurial endeavor. This is a job that takes a lot of effort. And success won't just come to you. You have to put in the time to learn what the market wants. So my friend Dave, he started this digital media company called OM Digital, and he did this with $13,000 that he borrowed from his siblings. He just moved to Washington, D.C., which I think is one of like the most expensive places in the U.S. to live. And he turned OM Digital, his company, into an international marketing company because he just kept chipping away at it every single day. Like, he didn't have a background as a photographer. He didn't have a technical background, but he understood people, and he just went out and met customers. He offered his photo booth service for free at events to build his network and to create awareness about his service, and it paid off. So again, look for inexpensive ways to create awareness about your product. There's a lot of stuff that's out there that is free and pretty easy to do. So being a hard worker only requires time and effort. And that can be a skill that you hone in on, is just being able to work hard and be dedicated. I think that this is a demanding job, and sometimes just putting in the time is what it takes to be successful. The sixth lesson that I learned is give back. So one of the other guests that I had on the podcast, my friend Taylor, he and his brothers, they were actually featured on the TV show Shark Tank, and they built a multi-million-dollar eyewear company, sunglasses and regular like prescription glasses. They built this out of their garage in Idaho, and from the beginning, they believed that they had this term that they used that I really liked, and that was, everyone has wings to fly. Some people just need a little help. And in fact, their logo for their company, it's called Proof, is part of the fabric of their company. They give back a large percentage of their profit to benefit people in need. They built schools in Uganda and provided free cataract surgeries and all kinds of stuff to people in need all over the world. And so the takeaway for me on this was, your customers want to be part of something bigger than themselves. So look for opportunities for your company, for you personally, for your team to be involved in your community. You don't have to have like a one-for-one pricing model to give back. Like, encourage your teams to get out and serve and expect nothing in return, particularly like in your community where your product, in the market where you serve. I think that this can be really valuable, not only as a way to grow your business, but I think it's just an important aspect for us all to remember, and I think it can, be super beneficial for you. So just to recap really quickly, and then I'm excited to get into the Q&A. Recap the 6 takeaways that I've learned from my podcast so far is, effective doesn't have to mean expensive. Right? There are great open source solutions out there. So kind of broaden your search beyond the normal places where you look. Second, your customers are buying you. They want to know who you are. Take them on a journey with you, engage them, make them part of it. You don't necessarily have to be an amazing coder to be a good product manager. absolutely helps, and you should continue to learn as much as you can. But again, I don't think you have to be an architect to be an effective product manager. Take the time to ideate and brainstorm and take that time for your team. I think it'll be very beneficial. Step away from the whirlwind, the crazy day-to-day activities. It'll be beneficial for you. And then just last two, hard work is a skill. You just have to put in the time and the effort, and look for ways to give back. So if you're interested, you can listen to my podcast. It's Founder Story. You can find it on Apple or founderstorypodcast.com if you guys are interested in that. And please, I love talking with all of you. So on the Slack channel, you can find me Dan W. Larsen or on Twitter. But thank you for your time, and I'm excited to talk with you more.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan, for those lessons. I especially really appreciate number 2.
Yeah.
But I think it's really important that people get to know you. It's not just about the product, but it's about what you're representing there. So I think that's really cool. Yeah. We already have quite a few questions coming in. So I'm going to go ahead and read through and grab a couple. I see we have some from Angela and Daniel. So everybody else, feel free to jump in and drop in a question. The first one is from Angela. PMs may not need to code, but do you find it helpful for PMs to be technical enough? So if so, what would you include under technical skills to know enough to do the job?
Yes, I think everybody is a little bit different, and technical skills definitely help. For me, I can really just speak for like my experience. My degree is in business management. It's not in computer science, but I did spend quite a bit of time like in technical support and QA. And so for me, like I've been with Henry Schein so long that like I've been able to learn how all of our systems work and how they fit together. And some of that is unique to our products, but some of it's not. And so I definitely think there's like a good enough line. Like if you, and again, everybody's a little bit different, but like if you said, my number one priority is I have to be an effective coder first before I spend time looking at the market or thinking about the business, I wouldn't recommend that route. Right. I definitely think there's like like a basic level of skills that you want to acquire. But again, I don't think you have to be like an architect to be a good product manager.
Right. Definitely. Here, I'm going to pull another question. And if you want to stop screen sharing too, I can click back over.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
I thought I hit it, but there we go. Thanks.
No, that's perfect. Cool. So the next question is from Adity. Thanks to platforms like Product School, established PMs are reachable. What is the best way to capture the attention of product managers so that they get interested to hire you?
For me, networking. It can be tough to like blindly put your resume out there and like hope that, I think different markets are more competitive than others. Different markets maybe like really need product managers, and others are maybe like a little more saturated. But if you're in kind of like a competitive market, just putting your resume in is going to be really tough. And so I think just looking for different like events, like like Product School or other industry things that you can go to. If there's like a particular like vertical that you're interested in getting into or just like progressing in, go to those events, meet people. That's the best way that I've found. I mean, like all the opportunities that I've had just came from like hard work and like getting to know people and letting them know that like, hey, I love product management. This is what I want to do. And just sharing that and making sure people know who you are and know that you're interested.
Right, exactly. And I think that's why when we host our events every week too, it works really well to connect a lot of people in that space, people that are just starting out and people that have been doing it for a while. So
yeah, absolutely.
Works really well. Okay, awesome. Our next question comes from Daniel. What are the most important traits for a product manager to have?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that for me, it's probably the ability to influence. A lot of times, like you don't have direct reports. I mean, every company is a little bit different, but for the most part, what I see is like product managers, unless you're like a director or a VP and you have other PMs underneath you, for the most part, like developers don't usually report to PM, marketing or sales don't report to PM, but you need to be able to like influence your peers and your teams that you're working with. And so understanding like what motivates them and how you can get everybody aligned. So influence is a huge one. There's a book called Influencer that I highly recommend. I would definitely read that. But then just, you know, having that entrepreneurial spirit, loving what you do and getting out there and working hard and wanting to understand the business and you know, being hardworking. But if I had to name one, I'd probably say the ability to influence.
Okay, definitely agree. Okay, let's see. I have a couple more questions. A lot from the same people, so don't be shy. Drop in a question. But happy to take the other ones as well. So this one is, let's see, from here. Okay, this one is from Daniel as well. But how can a PM become better at utilizing data, and how can one become more data-driven? Like, how important do you think that is in product management?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I was fortunate. I was able to take a Lean Six Sigma course and get my green belt. And honestly, like it changed the way that I think about making decisions. Like knowledge-based, data-based decision making, I think is huge. I mean, you're not always going to have every piece of information. I don't want to misquote, but I think that I read a quote from Jeff Bezos that said, like, typically I want to be able to make decisions with like 70% of the data, right? Because sometimes like getting that last 30% can be tough. And so for me personally, like taking a course in LSS, like Lean Six Sigma, statistics, understanding data, was really, really super valuable for me. And so I think that can be really useful. I mean, there are a lot of different tools. And so I don't want to just like name one or two tools, but you know, there are a lot out there. And I definitely think that should be, you know, part of your decision-making process, whether that's like understanding your marketing and sales funnel, or if that's, you know, understanding like your total obtainable market, or if it's more about like looking at analytics on your users and how they use your product. There's some incredible tools out there. If you have questions on some of those, you can contact me and I can share them. But yeah, I think that's a huge part of it.
Our next question comes from Nathan. I have been freelancing, building multiple e-commerce, web, and mobile applications for over 7 years with local and remote teams. How do I parlay that to a senior PM position on my resume?
Yeah, I think that's really good experience. You probably heard at the beginning that I really believe that product management is an entrepreneurial career. And so as you know, as I talk to other product managers or people that are hiring PMs, they want someone that's going to come in and just like make things happen. I think, you know, so I think that the experience that you have is really, really super valuable. And so what I would probably do is, you know, it's a big market out there. So focus in on, maybe make a list of 10 companies that you want to work for, and then look for ways that you can go out and meet people that either work there now, or ways that you can learn more about that vertical. I think vertical domain knowledge. So for me, my experience with Henry Schein is in dental. And so understanding like how dentists think and the way they make their decisions and the products they use, that is super, super valuable. And so I think if you could pair the experience you have with some like domain specific knowledge and like a desire to work for that specific company, I think that could be really, really valuable. That would be my advice.
Yeah, it's definitely applying strategy to the job hunt.
Yeah.
With that. Okay, we had a few more come in. This one, hi Dan. How do you judge an interview candidate with no product management experience for an associate role?
Yeah, that's a good question. I saw this really funny thing on Twitter the other day. It was about like a UX designer, but the concept is the same. And it said something along the lines of like, stop beating up junior PMs for not having any experience. Like, that's the point of a junior PM position or a junior designer position. So I forgot the question. What was it? How do you get an opportunity as an associate PM?
Well, how would you judge an interview candidate with no PM experience for an associate role? So pretty similar.
Yeah. I guess I would judge them by, do they have, what experience do they have? And I would look for someone who is a go-getter, who wants to learn on their own and work hard. It's like gets along well with other people and can be an influencer, someone that has an entrepreneurial spirit. Those things are super important. Like if I had to choose, if I was hiring somebody right now and I had someone who had a ton of experience, but was kind of like lackadaisical about what they wanted to do with the company and they weren't excited about it. And I had someone else who was, not experienced at all, but super, super excited about, about the work and the possibilities. I'd probably take the less experienced person, quite honestly, because it's difficult to like motivate people to be excited and to work hard. If they already have that, then the skills and some of the experience will come, and they'll work hard to get that. And so I like the go-getter kind of people that are again, like people and like influencers. That's what I look for.
Right. It was definitely all about attitude.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree.
Awesome. I'm going to pull one more question, so we have time for just this last one here. Let's see. There are a couple of good ones here. Now, I know we've been talking about how to get a job. Here's another one based on career paths within product management. But what do you think about the product management in hardware companies? So do you think that one would require a technical background, and how would you be able to, how would one's career path be for that side of PMing?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I don't want to like make up an answer. The truth is I don't know. My experience is largely like as a product manager for a SaaS company. And so I kind of don't know. Hardware is a different animal. And so I think that, having some background there would be, would probably be, more important in that role, especially, it's a different thing, especially if you start considering like distribution and all that kind of stuff. The PM role for like a hardware PM is quite a bit different from like a software or a SaaS PM. And so, yeah, to be honest, I don't have a great answer for you on that because I don't have a lot of experience there, but I do think there's a difference.
Okay, yeah, definitely would be. Makes sense. Okay, we have 2 more minutes. So I'm going to take this last question from Alan. For someone starting in PM based on current trends, which educational path would you recommend? Would you consider a strong foundation for future opportunities?
So it's interesting. Like I'm looking out at our team right now, and we have one of our directors has a background in marketing. One of the other directors has a background education in business management, like I do. And so it's funny to me that our VP also has the same background in business. I would start there. I would start there and then look for, if there's like a technical certification that you want to get that's particularly like applicable to a job that you're wanting to go after or something like that. So I would start with business and personally, and then look for like specialty kind of training things. Like again, my undergrad is in business, but then I've been able to do things like an LSS green belt, which taught me a lot about statistics. That was super, super valuable. As a product manager, I think you want to be well-rounded. I wouldn't just be like a coder and then try to learn business. I would start with something like business and then add on to that with, some more technical trainings or things like that. So.
Awesome. Well, Dan, thanks so much for a great presentation and answering all these questions and being here with us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for your time. I hope it was helpful. I really enjoyed doing these things. So thank you guys for being here and asking. It's great.
Yeah, and thanks again, everyone, for being here. One final thing, Dan, from you before we go. What advice would you offer to aspiring product managers?
I think the best advice that I can give is to to go out there and meet people, meet people who are product managers now. And when I was in school, I actually had an assignment to interview someone who was doing the job today that I wanted to have in 5 years. And so I did that. And it's funny because a few years after that, I look back on the assignment, and at that point I was a product manager, and my boss was the former PM. So like all the opportunities I've had have come through like really good relationships with people. And so just, again, like meeting as many people as you can that are in this space and who work for companies where you want to work. I think that's really valuable. And then again, just like being an influencer, working really hard and making sure people know that you want to do it is
right.
That sounds like stupid and basic, but it's really important.
Definitely. Well, it's definitely about reaching out to people that are in the same space where you want to be. Like you said, it's interesting that you had that interview assignment. So very cool. Well, thanks again for taking the time today. I appreciate it. And thanks everyone for being here with us. As you guys know, we also host events every week on campus and online. So we'll be here again next week. You can find more information on productschool.com. Thanks so much. Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.